Try that again.
Hey. Yeah, it works. I may have broke that when I was switching around my camera. Now we should be able to hear you. Um, can you guys hear him? It looks like you can. I'm looking at the chat. Awesome.
There
Okay.
we go.
Once again, Kevin, man, welcome for the second time to the Hacksmarter Twitch channel. It's good to have you here.
No worries. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. A good evening. It's Thursday. I can't complain. Um, I just had pizza. Get the pizza over here. So, New York
Barely
pizza.
made it home with all the paparazzi. It sounded like everybody taking pictures of you, I'm guessing.
I don't know about that, but yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's just begin with the first question. I always like to ask a classic elevator question. So, if we had never met, you only had a few minutes to introduce yourself. Who is the Kevin behind the KevTech? Who are you?
So, KevTech, the origin of KevTech is basically I'm a kid from New York who knew nothing about IT, and I got my first job in IT, and then I wanted to showcase my experience of what I had to go through to get a job in IT. So I created a YouTube channel. One is because people give you misleading information. They
Mm.
tell you to go get certified, and then they don't give you all the information. Two is I want to help people get a job in IT, and then three is it's very in depth when it comes to getting a job, and that's the reason why I made a YouTube channel because I know my experience is different from everyone else. Is you need to fix your resume, you need to get certified. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and you need to
Mm.
create a LinkedIn profile and you need to brand yourself. So that's the reason why I created my YouTube channel is because I want to give people real world information of stuff that I have to deal with, if that makes sense. So
It does make sense. And just to set the context, actually, let me pause right here. For those of you watching on Twitch, I want to take your questions before my own. So if you guys have questions for Kevin, feel free to drop them in the Twitch chat. I am watching the Twitch chat and I will get to your question. Someone said to put in a ticket for the audio issues before. We put in a ticket and I fixed it by restarting Discord because you turn stuff off and turn it back on and it usually resolves the issue. But just to set the context, Kevin, what is your current day job in the world of IT? I know you're involved with like 100 different things, but like your main day job, what do you do? What does a typical day look like for you?
So I work infrastructure support for a fintech company, and I work directly with the C-level folks. I work with the CEO, CFO, CIO. I deal with VMware. I deal with Okta, two-factor authentication. Deal with Active Directory, Office 365. I'm also an admin for SharePoint, OneDrive. I deal with shared drive permissioning. I deal with video room, video conferencing calls. I work directly with the CEO. Like literally, I follow him everywhere he goes. Just basically a little bit about me. So.
And do you work with printers at all? Because I heard you're a big fan of troubleshooting printers. Is that correct?
I don't like printers, but yeah, I do deal with printers. I'm actually an admin on the print server, but the thing is with here is I don't deal with it as much because we have something called roaming profiles, and basically, if you're a new hire when you join our company, it literally maps everything automatically, including printers. So I don't gotta deal with that as much.
How about paper jams? Do you
I
have to
don't
do
gotta deal
that
with
with the
that either.
printers?
Nope, I
Oh,
don't gotta deal with that
nice.
as much. Yep.
What's worse, dealing with printers or like I know my experience when I worked in IT support, I hated video conferencing rooms. I felt like they were always buggy, they didn't work properly. Do you have that same feeling towards video conferencing rooms, or do you not mind that?
I don't mind the video conference room. Like 99% of the time, I know it works because I tested it beforehand. So for me to answer that question, just to give you more of an idea, usually when I come in Monday morning, that's literally the first thing I do. I restart the video room, and I check all the executive
Wisdom.
PCs and desktops. I have a checklist for everything, so I follow my checklist to the T, and I make sure everything is working Monday morning. So then I don't have to deal with any pending tickets or pending issues when people come in throughout the week. So.
That's wisdom.
Hmm.
That is wisdom. And what is unique about your journey and your story? And I read this on your website. I've also heard you talk about it in your videos and on LinkedIn. Is before you moved into the world of IT, I'll make sure I have my notes right. You have about 12 years of restaurant experience and you transitioned from that into the world of IT. So, what's kind of the story behind that? What attracted you to the world of IT support and IT in general from working in the restaurant biz?
So when I before going into IT, I was always curious about opening things. So I always wanted to open things, and one example is the Gigapet. So I wanted to work with
I remember
Gigapets, and
Gigapets.
yes,
I
so
remember
I
those.
used to break Gigapets and change the battery on it, and I also used to work with Digimon Digi devices as well. And
I
then
remember
I
those
noticed
too.
my passion with iPhones as well. So I would break fix iPhones, do screen repair, changing the battery, changing the digitizer, and all that good stuff. And I'm like, pretty good at this. I should probably get into IT. And then I got my first job working for the DOE. But then I noticed I had a passion for hardware because my teacher, he put me in an awkward situation where I had to go fix the PCs for the people in the people in the school when I got my first
Sure.
job in IT. So when I first started IT, before I got my first job, I went to a school for the CompTIA A plus, and in that school, I was fixing all the hardware issues that the school had, and I resolved all the issues that they had, and didn't have to pay anyone. I did it for free, and I got my experience that way. So.
That's awesome. And I'm curious about education. Like, what is your view on formal education, certifications? Like, did you go to school? Do you have a degree in IT? Is it more self-learning? What's been your part of that journey?
So I don't have a degree to answer that question. The second thing is it depends on the company, and also the third thing is the certifications. It depends on the company again because every company is different. So you may need the A plus, you may need the Network Plus, you may need God knows what like CCNA or Azure or AWS. Really depends on the company. So that's why I tell everyone to do research, do the due diligence, and make sure that you have the right cert. You're not cert stacking because you feel like it. So.
That's good wisdom. And if we talk a little bit about the restaurant side of things, as you know, like I do, a lot of people throughout COVID-19 from the past couple of years have really changed careers, and IT is a career they want to change into. And I know a lot of people in the restaurant business have either been laid off or faced really bad job cuts, and they're considering what does a different career look like for me. So I want you to speak to Kevin or anyone else who was in that role. They're working in the restaurant business right now. They want to transition out of that to IT. What advice would you offer them from your experience and your perspective?
First of all, when it comes to help desk, they all look at customer service experience, so that's very important. So you having restaurant experience is extremely important because that's going to make you stand out because you come from a customer service background and you have empathy for the client. Whether it's you give them the wrong food or you give them the wrong portion or you give them a little too little and you ask for too much or you give them a free meal. So all these things in restaurant come to play when you're actually going for a help desk job because you're dealing with customers and the hiring manager is going to say at the end of the day you need to have soft skills and you're working help desk. So you're representing the company. You're the face of the company when you're working help desk, IT support, desktop support, service desk. All these jobs require you to have soft skills. So for someone that's working restaurant, you fit right in. All you need to do is know how to market yourself. The second thing you need to do is how to sell yourself in a non-tech way where customer service goes. The third thing you need to do is fix your resume. The fourth thing you need to do is do a home lab, a project work, and add that to your resume. And obviously, the fifth thing is getting certified, and then the sixth thing would be fixing your LinkedIn profile and a bunch of other stuff. So that's pretty much it for me.
I love it, man. I'm gonna put you on the spot, so we're gonna role play a little bit. All right. So we're at an interview. I want you to go back to KevTech with no IT experience. You're just getting out of the restaurant business. I am an IT support manager. I say, hey, I'm looking at your resume, and you don't have any IT experience that I can see here. Why would you be a good fit for this help desk role? How would you answer that question?
I got asked that question before when I first started IT. Funny enough, so I actually told the hiring manager or whoever interviewed me, I told them that the reason why you should hire me is because I have soft skills, and at the end of the day, you either have it or don't have it, or you learn it over time. I have empathy for the user. I have empathy for the client. I know how to break something down in a non-tech way where I don't make the client feel stupid or dumb. Also,
That's huge.
on top of that, I have a home lab with Active Directory and I learned about adding users to a computer, doing password reset, doing account creation. Obviously, I haven't done that in a work environment, but if you give me an opportunity to learn, I will be more than happy to be in depth and learn how to do that in a work environment. And that's the reason why you should hire me. So.
That's so good. And talking about a
Mhm.
home lab and all of that, let's talk about some of the content you've created. You have an excellent course on Udemy. You create content on LinkedIn. What are all the different organizations and all the different places that you teach, you mentor? Just if someone wants to contact you for some of those services, how? I feel like there's like 20 different ways. Just share with us some of the top ways.
So I'm on Discord. That's one. I'm on Twitter. That's two. I'm on LinkedIn. That's three. I'm also on YouTube. That's four. I also have my own website. It's called KevTechITSupport.com. That's five. And actually, funny enough, there's a tab there for coaching, so you could book a session with me, and a bunch of people got jobs. Just literally, I sit there, I look at your resume, and I'm like, why is it 10 pages? This doesn't make any sense. Make it into 1 page. You're brand new. This doesn't make any sense for you to have it 10 pages. Make sure it's tech related, and make sure it's something to do with other stuff. And we talked about that, and some people get jobs that way. So I'm at a few different places. I'm all over the place, but yeah.
That's cool. And one of the things I've seen you post about is the different things you do for veterans. You have some free resources for them. Just share a little bit about that. If someone is a veteran and they're watching this, what are some resources you would recommend for them in particular?
Yeah, so if you go to KevTechITsupport.com, there's a tab called Veterans, and it actually has all a bunch of free resources. That's one. The second place would be Whole Human Cyber Initiative. So they're actually a nonprofit organization that does security training absolutely for free if you're a veteran or not a veteran, and they also get you certified in Security Plus. That's a second place I recommend. The third place I recommend is Boots to Books with Peter Klein. I'm friends with him, and he literally gives you a bunch of free books. If you need a bunch of free books, which is the A plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, all the other certifications, that's another place I recommend. And the other place I recommend is Veterati, and Veterati is an organization for veterans. You could book a session with people that actually got jobs in IT, and they mentor you and they guide you to your career path. So a couple of places.
So cool. And I'm going to change gears just a little bit. I think what stands out about you, what makes you unique, is you're technical. You can teach technical things, but you can speak well. And I think that's a unique gifting. Some people are highly technical, but man, they're so awkward to talk to, and they are terrified of public speaking. Whereas like you're always doing public speaking, you're live streaming, you're creating content. Have you always been good at public speaking? Or is that a skill that you've developed? Like what's the story behind that? How did you get into this such a public format?
That came from two things. That came from working in a restaurant because I always had to deal with people in restaurant, and then the second place that came from is YouTube channels. Just having a YouTube channel, just in general, just making videos on YouTube. I'm like, man, this is kind of awkward. Like recording myself and then throwing a video together and then watching myself say something on the video is kind of awkward. And I noticed I got better over time. Like if you go to my YouTube channel, if you go to my old videos and you look at the comments from my old videos, like you have negative comments from, oh man, this video sucks, this video's horrible, this video's not that good. But then you have people, the same people that criticize me from when I first started YouTube, they still follow me currently in my present time, literally right now. And they're like, man, you have improved so much drastically from your old videos. You done a 360 because you know how to teach now and you know how to break it on a non-tech way. Because at the end, and I learned this this third thing, right? I learned this the hard way because I went to a school and I failed my class. I failed my class because I had a bad teacher. So
Mm,
sometimes you have a bad teacher, not a bad student, because they don't know how to teach. If you don't know how to teach, it messes you up, and you may not be able to pass that exam or that test or whatever, right? So that happened to me, and I'm like, I have to
absolutely.
change. I have to change the way I teach, because every person that I'm speaking to is different. Not everyone's the same. Some people are hands-on. Some people are good with reading books. Some people are a combination of both. Some people are good with audio or podcast or something. So I have to change it up a little bit because I know everyone has their own way of learning. So that's to answer your question.
That's good. And what I'm hearing in that is the consistency. You just kept creating content, kept making videos, and you gradually got better. But how did you fight against some of that discouragement? Because I know just personally, I'm not as far along in the journey as you are, but
Mm-hmm.
creating content is a very vulnerable thing. You're putting yourself out there, you're sharing some of your heart, sharing some of the things you're passionate about. And when you get even a few negative comments, it's so easy to focus on like the three negative comments and none of the positive comments in the beginning of your journey or even now. How do you battle against some of that discouragement and some of that negativity?
I don't look at the negative stuff because I've been through so much in life. One thing is
Mm,
I worked for the NYPD for 4 years. That's one thing. You're gonna give me like 1,000 more questions. Is another story for another day. I worked for the NYPD for 4 years. The second thing is which why I'm so positive at life is because my dad took dialysis for 5 years, right? That
mm,
was when I first got started in IT, and I was such a negative guy back then, right? And now I'm not. I'm positive because at the end of the day, I let things work out, right? I'm so positive because my dad got a kidney transplant. He's a lot better now, and things just work out.
Mm,
And I look past the negative, and I look at all the negative stuff. I don't even pay attention to it because if I know I'm affecting someone's life in a
mm,
positive way, that's all that matters to me. At the end of the day, that's all that matters to me. The second thing that's very important to me is I have actually physically met people that have changed their life. So I'm like when I see a negative comment, I'm gonna ignore it because I know the changes I have made. Like literally, like last year, I went to a restaurant to eat. The guy knew who I was. He's like, "Is that KevTech? Why is he going to this restaurant? Is he going to sit right next to me?" And I sat right next to him. He's like, "You have no idea, Kevin. You have no idea what he have done to my career. Like, because of you, I worked retail. Because of you, I tripled my salary. And I didn't have to pay any resources or anything. I just went to your YouTube channel." So that, having
amazing.
something like that affect me personally on a personal level, I'm like, man, I am making a difference in someone's life. I don't care what anyone says. That's just how I am. That's how I feel. I'm always positive about life. I don't look at negative. It's just how I am. So.
Preach, man. That's so good. I got a question from Hammy ZZZ over on Twitch. We'll jump over to his question. He said, once you've landed a help desk job, what do you think should be the next step moving towards a cybersec role? Any advice that you'd offer on
So
that?
typically for cybersecurity, oh boy, it's like you're going into like a wormhole of things because cybersecurity has over 50 jobs, right? So you want to figure out what you want to do first. So that's number one. Number two, depending on the role, you might need security plus. If it's a government job, you're gonna need security plus. You cannot avoid security plus. So that's number two. Number three, for me, my advice is if you want to get to a security role or security job, I like to do the LinkedIn branding thing, right? So I like to go to someone that has the job that I want. So if I know
Sure.
it's a cybersecurity analyst role, I would go and reach out to that person, and then in a weird in a strange in a way that's not strange, weird, or awkward, I will literally invite that person for coffee. I will give them something. What it's like? Why are you adding me? I don't know you. Who are you? Right? So I have to give the person something, right? I might give them like free resources, take them out for coffee, give them some sort of incentive for them to add me, and then go based on that, and then take them out for a cup of coffee or buy them a coffee, and then do a virtual Zoom call with them and figure out how they got that job that I want. That's what I would do if I was you. So hopefully that answers your question.
That's good advice. And I'll maybe add just a little bit, Hammy ZZZ. So that was my story. 6 months ago, I was an IT support manager and transition into a more cybersecurity career where I work from home and I do cybersecurity type stuff. And for me, a big part of it was content creation. The reason I started my YouTube channel was just to show people that, yeah, I work in IT support, but my passion is cybersecurity. And I just worked through Try Hack Me and Hack the Box machines. And when I had that interview, I shared my YouTube content with them and said, hey, like, I know I don't have any formal experience in that world, but like, you can watch me stumble through stuff. You can watch me learn stuff. And I've learned that that's been helpful for me. And I know, Kevin, you shared as well, that's part of the reason you started making content, some of that personal branding. And so let's talk a little bit about the content part of it. We take Hammy ZZZ. I think it's Hammy's, I don't know, but if we take Hammy right there, and Hammy's like, man, I've always wanted to make a video and share what I'm learning, but I feel like I don't know enough. I feel like I'm not the right person to be doing that. That imposter syndrome question. What encouragement, what advice would you offer?
With me, with me, it goes back to, and this is gonna be like, because I'm all about if you know anything about me, I'm a judo guy, right? I do judo, right? So the thing about me is I the one thing I learned about life is you need to surround yourself with positive people and stay away from negative people because that's gonna mess you up. That's one thing. The second thing is you make sure you have the right friends and the right family that support you no matter what. Even if things look like crap and you're not happy with everything, make sure you have people around you that are willing to pick you up, even if you're having a bad day. And that's very important in life. That's very important. That helps me every day. You have to figure out what's your why. When you figure out what's your
What's your
why,
why?
and then you could do so much in life. You're capable of breaking the gates and doing whatever you want. And that's what goes back to imposter syndrome. You're not gonna know everything. And that's my other thing. And when I quote IT is when someone asks you, what do you know in IT? I say, I don't know everything because I'm always learning. That's my quote in IT. So realize that you're not gonna know everything in IT. You're always gonna ask for help, so don't be afraid to speak up and ask for help. Someone is gonna be out there willing to help you, whether it's in your job, whether it's your manager, or it's somebody on Discord, because we do have a Discord. So someone will be out there to help you. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to accept help, because everyone needs help in IT, whether you're a veteran or not a veteran in IT. So hopefully that answers your question.
That's so good. And one of the reasons I think you've been so successful is you found a niche, and that's the niche of IT support, right? It's KevTech IT support, and you help people land IT support and help desk roles. A lot of people want to skip that, which there's some valid reasons behind that. But I think in our effort to skip IT support, we miss a lot out of that. What I love about you is you post videos about IT support and you champion people who are in help desk. Why do you think working help desk and IT support is such an important part of a person's IT career?
So for help desk, it gets very in depth. I actually made a post why you shouldn't work help desk, and people were like, "Wow, man, you hit me in the nerves over here. I feel it." So I made a post about that, and then some people were like, "Wow, this is so true." But then, really, realistically, when I get asked about that, is you get to deal with customer service, you get to deal with people, um, you get to learn about having empathy in customer service, because a lot of people that work IT, they're amazing in IT. They're so good with cybersecurity. They're so good with network admin. They're so good being a sysadmin, or they're so good being a developer. But they have these weird, awkward social skills because they don't know how to interact with people. So being in help desk,
So true.
it makes you well-rounded. So it actually makes you engage with someone, interact with your team, interact with your departments, interact with a C-level folk, interact with anyone, secretary, admins, I don't care who it is. But basically, you're interacting with people. That's one. Number two is you have the ability to touch different systems, right? So you're all over the place. You're touching printers, you're touching PCs, you're touching laptops, you're touching Mac machines, you're touching Active Directory, Office 365. You're dealing with VC rooms. It could be anything. And you'd be like, man, I have this weird error message on my screen. You know what? I'm a black belt in Google Foo. I'm gonna try to figure this out, right? So you go and figure it out, and then you resolve it, and then that one ticket that the sysadmin couldn't resolve, you figure it out, and you're like, man, I did it. I fixed it. So it makes you proud, right? So then you have all those things in help desk too, where you're working on projects. You may be shadowing another department. It gets very involved with help desk. It depends on the company. It depends on the help desk role. Because I have trained over 300 students, and I have seen people that have worked help desk, and most of them are sysadmins, network admins. Literally, someone today that I trained 2 years ago, he just got a job in cybersecurity, and he messaged me today. So I will never say anything bad about help desk, because you need to have soft skills. It's very important in any job you work in IT. So
That's so good. And I just say yes and amen to that. From working help desk, I'm working IT support myself for quite some time. That's all spot on. And one of the biggest things for someone landing that first IT role is the interview. And I think that's probably the most intimidating thing as well, as someone getting ready for that first interview. And I know you've done workshops on this, you've sat in on interviews, you've interviewed others. Just share with us some of the top questions a new person should prepare for as they approach that first interview for an IT support or help desk role.
So depending on the company, it may be that annoying question, personality question. Tell me about yourself. That's one. Number two would be, what is your greatest strength? Number three would be, what is your greatest weakness? Number four would be, how do you deal with a tough customer? And then number five would probably be, can you give me a time where you had an issue with your coworker, and how did you resolve it? So it's like a lot of personality questions, and then they may ask you questions about the job posting, which is like Active Directory, like how do you unlock an account? How do you reset an account? Can you tell me what's the difference between a security group and a distribution group? Can you tell me how do you give access to someone for a share drive or a share folder? So little things like that. So
That's good. I'm curious, how do you answer the question on what is your biggest weakness? Right? Because you can't, so I don't have any weaknesses because then you sound arrogant. But I've heard it said
mm.
that you should make your weakness sound like a strength. You know, like I'm a perfectionist, so I try to get all the details right. Like how do you encourage people to answer that question? Because it's like
uh,
you're asked that in every interview, right? What's your
mhm.
biggest strength? What's your biggest weakness? I'm just curious.
I always say that I take criticism to heart when it comes to my greatest weakness. If someone was to criticize me today, I take that to heart. Like I can take that as a personal attack on me, but I use it as a strength because I know what I have to work on, and I turn it around, I turn that into a strength. So if a manager's criticizing me about a specific thing, like you need to do this or you need to work on that, I turn it around. Like, okay, I know I need to work on this. I'm gonna try to improve on it, and then I'm gonna follow up with my hiring manager. So that's how I answer that question.
That's so good. Hammy Z said his greatest weakness is chocolate. So I'm not sure if that'd be the best way to answer an interview, but
Oh my goodness.
that is awesome. I'm also curious about coaching, and I actually sent you this as a private message and wanted to ask it during our interview. So for me personally, I'm nowhere close to your level, the level of other content creators, but I've noticed as my YouTube page has grown, as Twitch has grown, as the Discord I lead has grown, man, I get way more messages than I'm really able to respond. Well, I attempt to respond and help everyone, but it's to the point that, gosh, it just stretches me so thin having, in addition to that, 2 young kids working full time. So I've considered, like, what does coaching look like? Because then you cut down on that a little bit and you're forcing people to really put in the effort, both time and financial, to make sure they're ready for those meetings. So I'm just curious, why did you make the decision to move to paid coaching? Like, what advice would you offer in that world?
That's funny. So I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends on YouTube that know me personally on a personal level that are big channels, small channels, I guess medium sized channels. They all know me like, man, Kev, you do so much for the community. You do a lot of free things. You should definitely charge for coaching. That's number one why I started doing that. Number two is I actually created a survey on my YouTube channel and I asked people like, would you pay for coaching if I were to do it? Like, and everyone's like, yeah, we want you. We literally want you as a coach. We want to take time and sit with you because I get overwhelmed. I get bombarded. So then that's number two, and then number three is like, um, I I created my own Calendly account and everything, and I started off this year, and I've been booked for the whole pretty much like for 5 months, 3 months. It's crazy,
That's
like
awesome.
it's crazy because everyone wants me to talk to them because the thing is with me is too is that most of the people that I talk to are people that are non-tech related, so they can relate to me because I didn't come from a tech background and I don't have a degree. That's the second thing. And then the third thing for me is I did the impossible, which basically is work IT and be the first successful person in my family to be in IT and make good money and take care of my family. So people like that. So
Dude, that's so
yeah,
awesome. So coaching's recent for you. Like, that's a new thing that you started.
that's a new thing. Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
so that's good. What advice would you offer KevTech from 6 months ago or a year ago, right before you started doing coaching? Now that you've been doing it for a season of time, what are some things that you've learned and some advice you would offer yourself or offer someone like me who is considering that now that you've been in it for a season?
So coaching is very time consuming. So you gotta be prepared for having the right energy. That's one thing. The second thing is you want to make sure that you do your research. But if you're a coach and you're coaching someone, you want to give them bad information. So you want to make sure you're doing research. So, and how I do that is I actually, because I'm so big on LinkedIn, I reach out to other people that I know that have that job already, and I go get advice from those people. I don't have a mentor, but I reach out to other people that I know that have the job already, and I'm like, okay, so what do you think about this job, or how do you think you should learn about this? I ask other people. So that's the second thing. I guess the second thing, and the third thing would be for me is like I said, like you, at the end of the day, you're human. So that's the reason why I created a Calendly account because you want to make sure you book your sessions. You're not overwhelming yourself. You're not killing yourself because you're also gonna get like you're gonna get really unmotivated really fast if you don't take small breaks or breaks in between and just set up your calendar correctly. You cannot be there 24/7 booking people. I have done it before. It's not the right way to live. It's very unhealthy. You're gonna feel like crap. Definitely don't recommend that have a work life balance when it comes to booking these sessions. The other thing is for me, like, which is very important for me, by the way, is if you're paying me for something, I want to make sure you get your money's worth, right? So it's very important. Make sure that you're actually giving them what you're asking, what you put in your, I guess, in your website or whatever. Make sure you're giving them the right things and make sure there's actual value of it. So I always follow up with each individual person that I give them something. So that's to answer your question.
That's good. And someone just mentioned on Twitch, Eclipse said, agreed. He is just spitting truth, talking about you. I'm halfway through his Udemy course and it's been very helpful. Let's talk a little bit about that Udemy course. That's also a relatively new thing. Last I checked, you had, man, what, almost 4,000, 5,000 students on there?
Mhm.
Maybe you don't even know. I'm trying to remember what the number was when I looked at it. But why did you make a decision to make a course on there? Like, what led up to that?
So that was because of my YouTube channel. The thing is, a lot of people they watch one video of my on my YouTube channel, and then they skip my videos and they start clicking random videos on YouTube that are my videos. And then someone gave me the idea. Someone's like, you should grab those same videos, but make it in a structured way where it makes sense, where people can actually go from A to Z. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. So then I made a Udemy course. I actually made a survey, and everyone that I asked, like over, I think it was like 5,000 people, they responded to it and they say, yeah, we'll pay for it. If it's the same thing on YouTube, but it's actually like laid out, very structured with resume templates and everything, we'll definitely pay for that. I don't care if it's $5 or $10, we'll pay for that because we don't want to be all over the place. We want a structured course. So that's the reason why I added it. And I'm gonna add more stuff to it, by the way. So yeah.
That's so cool. And just a testimony of that, for those of you maybe watching this after the fact, Eclipse just said, for sure, I enjoy it's in a single place and keeps me on track. FPS Gamer said, I just bought that a couple days ago. Script Kitty said it's at 5,827 students. That you got your own college going on. And Eclipse said, and who doesn't like a certificate for learning? That is very neat that it's been able to get to that point. And that's, when did you start the Udemy course? That was also recent, like within the past couple months. Am I correct?
Yeah, like 3 months.
Okay, very cool. So give us a very big overview for someone who hasn't checked it out or is just now hearing about your YouTube channel. If they were to go purchase that course, give us a 1,000-foot view. What are some of the resources? What are some of the things that they're going to learn by the time they finish that course?
Yeah, so this course is recommended to someone that has at least a little bit of knowledge of IT. So you need to know a little bit of CompTIA A plus. That's number one. Number two is I cover Active Directory, Office 365, two-factor authentication, MFA. I cover soft skills. I cover interview questions. I cover how to build a home lab, and I also, and at the end of the whole video, actually, was kind of cool. I actually, all the stuff you learn and watch, I give you a resume you could use right after that, and you can start applying for jobs. And then also in the videos as well, I go over places you can apply for jobs. So that's like a little bit of everything, pretty much.
Dude, that's so awesome. And the full price, isn't it? It's just right around $16, I think, if I
Yes.
remember when I was looking at it. What an incredible value for the price. I just think of people spend thousands of dollars that go and get degrees, and sometimes they're helpful, but honestly, a lot of the times it's not helpful. Not as helpful as something that's hands-on like that, that's guiding the person through the process. And they can take your course and they can sign up for coaching, right? And get one-on-one coaching as they work through your course. And really just you get what you put into it and land that first IT role and even get continual coaching from you after the fact. I'm going to jump to another question from the great Jack Neely. He said, Kevin, you mentioned that you were a negative person in the past. How did you overcome that and become a more positive person? And how long did that transformation take?
That didn't take me that long because I'm a very spiritual person. So what happened to me is my dad got sick, and then I was like, I question a lot of things. I'm like, why did this happen? Why does that happen? Why does this happen? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just have faith. I'm going to believe that things are going to slowly work out, and I'm going to have faith in myself. I'm going to believe in myself. I'm going to believe in my family. I'm going to like for me, it goes back to having a lot of faith in yourself and believing in yourself, and trying to pick yourself up no matter what happens in life. That's how I think. My personal way of thinking is like that. That's just life in general, and that's how that has followed me throughout my whole career, and my whole life. Because I used to be 200 pounds, and I was a size 40 in pants, and now I'm a size 32, right? And that's because I have all these people that doubted me, right? People doubted me, gave me all this negativity, and I look past that. And when someone tells me, you can't do something, or you don't believe it, you can't do something, it's impossible for you to get a job in that. You can do certain things, right? I'm like, God bless you. That's it. I don't say anything else but that. because I don't personally, my personal thought and process of way of thinking I never think bad about someone if they think bad about me. That's just how it is with me. I'm like that. That's the reason why people like me, because I'm very straightforward, but also I'm a very approachable person, and I never make anyone feel bad about themselves. I always want to pick people. I always want to pull out the potential from each individual person, and that's just how I am. So.
I love that. It's so good. And for those of you watching this live, just want to let you know we are about at the 45-minute mark. Time flies when you're having fun. So we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. So I just want to, once again, if you guys have more questions, feel free to comment them. I have more questions myself, but I want to hit your questions first. And Eclipse just said, how long should a new person to the IT field stay in an entry-level help desk position before trying to move up into higher roles? What do you think, Kevin?
That's a tricky question for me because it depends on the individual. It depends how fast you can retain information. It also, and I'm gonna go based on my experience because I know somebody that was in help desk for 6 months, and he used my resume, and now he's making 95K working knock, and that's on Reddit. So he literally, if you type KevTech 95K Reddit, that pops up immediately. And that guy only that individual only did 6 months of help desk, and now he makes 95K doing as a network operations center. That's the thing. Like it really depends on the individual, depends on the person. And I'm gonna drop a gem here because not a lot of people like to hear this, but
Drop it.
the
Let's hear it.
reality of IT, the reality of IT is sometimes you need to jump jobs if you want to get a salary increase. Sometimes your job is not
Oh,
going to give you a
preach.
raise. So you're going to have to leave your job and go look for another job if you want a salary increase or you want a promotion or if you want a specific thing, you're going to have to jump your job because not every company is going to take care of you. That's just the reality of IT. You may find that dream job, you may not. So you're going to have to jump jobs. And for to you to answer that question, it's like 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. It really depends on the individual. It depends how motivated you are at getting yourself the next role, the next job. So that's what it is.
That's so good. And the only thing I would add to that, just to highlight the gem that you dropped, I think that's so true. So about 2 years ago, I was at about 50,000 a year, and I jumped I think I jumped two jobs in that time. Like I worked one job for only 5 months, another job for a year, had good connections there, but I have more than doubled my salary by changing jobs and just highlighting some of those things. So I would just encourage those of you watching, you do not owe loyalty to your company. And I might get myself in trouble in my current place of work by saying that, but I'll just find a different place of work. But you don't owe loyalty to your company. Do what's right for you and do what's right for your family. I think one of the things that we have noticed through COVID and even layoffs that we see now is your company will cut you in a heartbeat if it improves their bottom line. So if you have the opportunity to get a 50%, 60%, 70% raise or higher, take it. You don't need to feel bad. And what I've learned is your hiring manager, your supervisor, as long as they're a good person, man, they're gonna celebrate you. They're not gonna guilt trip you. They're gonna say, hey, go do that. It makes sense. So just don't feel bad. Do what's right for you. Do what's right for your family, and it will be good for you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say to quote you on that. I was gonna say, if you die tomorrow, your job will be posted online.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, depending on the company, just saying. So keep that in mind. It's very important. Make sure that in IT, it's just IT only. It's not other jobs. IT is like that. So sometimes you're gonna have to walk. You have to jump jobs in order for you to be successful in IT. So
That's so good. And Jack, I don't know if Jack wants me to use his last name or not. I'll just say Jack, just for those watching on YouTube. But he posted in the comment that he went from a 20K salary to nearly 100K in under a year. Once again, jumping jobs. He never would have got that just by getting a 3% cost of living raise, even though the cost of living in the past year is way more than 3%. But a 3% raise saying, hey, good job, you made it through COVID. Sometimes you do have to jump jobs. And I guess for those who are hiring managers in positions of authority, pay your people what they're worth. If you have that ability to do so. If you're going to pay someone twice what they're making to replace them, man, just pay your good employee a really good raise so that you can keep them. Otherwise, you're not doing right by them, from my opinion. I'm also not CIO, so I might get myself in trouble by saying that.
that happened to me too, by the way, Tyler. That happened to me, by the way. I worked for a job. I busted my ass, and they didn't give me a raise. And then when I left the company, they hired 3 people to replace me because I
So
was
silly.
I was closing 1,200, 1,300 tickets a day. Just so you're aware.
It's insane. Yeah, just if they would have paid you what you were worth, give you the salary of 3 people. If you're doing the job of 3 people, they wouldn't have to go through all the work of hiring 3 people, training them, and then now you got 3 people who can quit instead of 1, right? And then you got to
Yeah.
figure out what that looks like. I'm looking over at the comments. Someone's trying to find your course. FPS Gamer said search for it. For those of you watching on Twitch, if you don't mind just finding Kevin's course and dropping it as a comment, just so people can get to it quickly. Jack just said, I had an interview locally and the hiring manager was shocked when I told him I had another offer for tens of thousands more than what he wanted to offer for an on-site job doing basically everything. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And congratulations again, Jack. I know I've told you that personally, but that is awesome. That's a cool success story. Thank you.
I had an opportunity to meet Jack too.
That's right, when he went to New York.
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
So good. And Eclipse and ScriptKit dropped your course, and the person was able to find it. So enjoy that course. I have just a few more questions and we'll wrap up, but you are clearly, Kevin, a high performer. You have courses you make, mentoring you make, stuff for veterans that you make, some skill program that you're a part of. Like, I don't know how the heck you keep this straight, and you lost weight somehow through all of it, and you were just eating pizza on top of that. So I'm just curious, man, what disciplines do you have in place to stay mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally healthy in the midst of your high productivity?
With like I told you before earlier in the stream, I'm a judo guy. I am very disciplined. I'm extremely disciplined, like crazy disciplined. And I'm just like David Goggins. You don't know me, son. And I work out and just do it. I just do it. I don't make excuses. I don't make excuses.
Do it.
Yeah, I make zero excuses. If I and I have a cup. I have a cup that says if you're not doing the work, I'm your teacher. If you're not doing the work, I'm disappointed at you, basically. So it's all up to you. It's all up to your mindset. It's all up to if you want to do it or not. I cannot teach you how to fish if you don't want to learn how to fish. That's just how it is. So
good. Got another question from Twitch. Arthur Braga. I think, Arthur, you were on stream with me last night, so hi again. He said, a question, in the actual market, how is the possibility of fully remote jobs now that COVID is settling down? What's your view on that?
A lot of companies in New York are very hybrid right now. But based on my personal experience, it depends where you live. Like, some places are always going to do remote. Some places are doing hybrid. And another gem, I'm gonna throw a gem again. You don't have to apply where you live. You could always apply for remote jobs outside of your state where you live. So, like, if you live in New York, or let me switch it around. If you live in Florida, you could apply for a job in New York if it's remote. So you don't gotta actually apply for the job you're living in or the area you're living in. You can always apply for remote jobs outside of that if you go to LinkedIn or Indeed and just highlight it and change it to remote. So that's what I would do if I was you.
That's good. Only thing I would add is, so my job right now is fully remote. I live in South Dakota. My job is based out of Alaska, so I'm not making a commute to Alaska unless I get a private jet. But what I've noticed is the importance of networking, not like router networking, but with people. So all of my jobs, with the exception of one, have just been through connections of people I worked with in the past or friendships I built. My current remote job was a result of a coworker I worked with in the past who sent me a Facebook message and said, hey, we have this opening on our team. I think you'd be a good fit. The downside of remote jobs, like fully remote jobs like what I have, I'm 100% remote, is you are competing with everyone else in the country, sometimes in the world, for that remote job. But if you have that inside connection, you have a much better chance of getting it. So build authentic relationships, whether it's on LinkedIn or a Discord community. Build good relationships, and I found personally that that's helpful.
I was gonna add something to that, actually. So for LinkedIn, just so you guys are aware, I have a video on LinkedIn branding, but LinkedIn, the first thing I always tell people to do on LinkedIn is make sure you edit your URL on LinkedIn. So they give you like a generic URL with your name and a bunch of letters and numbers. So make sure you edit your URL of your name. So then when you copy and paste, it says your first name, your last name, IT professional, IT desktop, sysadmin, whatever, right? Edit the URL. The second thing is make sure you edit your profile picture. You don't want to have a picture of you having a beer or, you know, doing a party or whatever. Make sure it's a professional picture.
Taking shots.
In front of your face. Yeah, exactly. In front of your face. And that's very important. That's the second thing. The third thing is make sure underneath your name there are all these titles you can put: IT support, desktop support, PMP, project manager. make sure you put names in there of jobs that you're looking for. So if you're looking for certain jobs, make sure you put your names in there. Then when you scroll all the way down to your about me, you want to make sure you put keywords in there so people, the hiring managers can find you. Then below that, you put your jobs you have worked, to put a little bit of description of each individual job. Then below that, you want to make sure you put your endorsements, all the jobs you worked, and you can actually add your endorsements with the current job you're in, and they can put them together. Underneath that, you can put your courses. And then all the way back on the top, there's a feature section. You can actually put your lab videos, your CompTIA A plus certifications, your Network plus certifications, Security plus certifications. You can add that in the feature section. So then when the hiring manager looks at you, they say, "Oh, he just got his A plus. He's celebrating this. Oh, this is pretty cool." Or if you put a video in there, I see people get jobs. They put a project in there of a GitHub or a YouTube channel. They got a job in IT just doing that. Just like a little things, little nitty gritty things, like little things like that will help your LinkedIn profile. Just wanted to share that real quick.
That's so good. And we'll probably wrap up. So let me just ask you one final question. So as we kind of wrap up the interview, do you have any parting words of wisdom for the rest of us as we're on this journey together? What's some wisdom you got for us? Drop some more gems.
My wisdom in IT will always be never give up, embrace rejection. So if you're brand new to IT, you always got to embrace rejection, because at the end of the day, you're brand new. Hiring managers gonna be like, "Why should I hire you if you have no experience? I don't even know you. I don't owe you anything." So you gotta be real positive in life. You gotta embrace rejection. You gotta be willing to take the hits, and someone's gonna give you an opportunity and a chance to grow and build a career in IT. Once you get that first job in IT, I promise you, when you get that first job in IT, it's all up there. It goes up that the ladder. It's just a little step ladder you step in. You step in that ladder, and you keep going up and up and up after that. You just need that first job in IT, and then after that, you'll keep growing and growing and progressing in your career. So.
Wisdom. Hey, Kevin, thank you again for hanging out with us on Twitch. Thank you for, man, just sharing your wisdom and eating your pizza really fast and dealing with the tech issues as well. At least we didn't have any printers involved in this. That's always a benefit to it. For those of you watching on Twitch, thank you guys for hanging out. One just real quick update. I usually stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays from like 9 p.m. to midnight. My stream is going to become a little more sporadic. I officially scheduled my OSCP exam. My lab time starts tonight, and I'm not allowed to stream any of that content. So the time I usually use to stream is after I put my kids to bed. I need to take that time to study and knock out the OSCP. So just on Twitch, I'll still be on here occasionally, but not as regularly as I usually am. But you can catch me on YouTube. I'll produce content on there. But hey, go subscribe to KevTech. Check out his incredible content. Go buy the course. Sign up for coaching. And I'm excited to see all the other lives that will be transformed, KevTech, through your platform, through all the things you do. Thank you again, man. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.